الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we inaugurate the first day in studying the book, which we'll be using a couple of books, not just one, which is, if everyone is able, to bring Umdat al-Ahkam by the great Imam Abdul al-Maqdisi, rahimahullah. Well, we know that is a book in which all the usul or the asl of if one wants to start with fiqh, you start with this basic book in which all the people who are mubtadi'een, beginners, start with that book. It's called Umdat al-Ahkam. And then after one memorizes Umdat al-Ahkam, he climbs up the ladder a little bit until he's able to memorize the ahadith in Bulugh al-Maram, which is also another book which we'll be utilizing in these lessons in preparation for Shahri Ramadan al-Mubarak, which is about to start not too long, or in a little bit, inshallah, for the remaining days that's left until it starts. As we know, the days are moving extremely fast, and time is going by very fast. And we know this is the signs of the hour, which the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned about in the last days of times when he thought, Anas ibn Malik, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تتقارب الأزمان, that the hour will not be established until time will start to pass by very quickly. So in regards to us taking advantage of what is blessed, as everything in the dunya is mal'oon, as the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had mentioned and said, that it can be a affair that will take you away from the remembrance of Allah, of what He said about this dunya. But what is beneficial is that which the Messenger of Allah ﷺ said, الدنيا ملعونة ملعون ما فيها إلا ذكر الله وما والاه علم متعلما. And everything is in it is cursed except dhikr Allah, the remembrance of Allah, and anything that is similar to it. And what is similar to it is these lessons of ilm. The lessons of ilm are blessed, inshallah, bi'idhnillah, if one makes his niyyah genuine and does not have some ulterior motive, but rather is sincere and genuine for him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. For those type of remembrances, such as these gatherings, are gatherings which are mubarak, inshallah, if one makes his niyyah genuine and sincere for seeking His face and increasing himself and augmenting himself in the ilm al-nafi'. For these lessons will enlighten one so he can worship Allah ta'ala upon basira, to worship Him jalla sha'nuh or jalla fil ula upon insight and ilm. For in regards to what the Messenger of Allah said at the last part of the hadith, وَعَالِمًا وَمُتَعَلِّمًا, so everything is in the dunya is cursed, everything is cursed in the dunya, mal'una, or the dunya is cursed and everything in it, except that which is dhikr Allah and the alim and the muta'allim, the one who is the alim, the one who's disseminating the knowledge, who's a scholar, and the one who's muta'allim, the one likewise who is what? Learning. So for these type of majalis, which are affairs of which we should take advantage of, to allow us to be prepared for this upcoming month, which is the best type of remembrances. As you'll find that the Salaf has said that these type of gatherings, he says, are better than that which is pertaining to worship, because you're learning what worship is established upon. It's established upon ilm, not jahl. So in order to rectify one's worship, so he does not be amongst walad-dallin, resembling the Christians who went astray, is that firstly one increases himself in ilm and knowledge. So he worships Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon basira. Rahmakallah. So these type of which we're going to start inshallah in regards to Kitab al-Siyam, and also the other books we'll be utilizing, not just Bulugh al-Maram but Umdat al-Ahkam. For those who do not have the book, then I ask the brothers or the sisters to download the PDF on their phones or on their tablets or what have you. If they're not able to attain the book, or if they do not have it already, then at least try to find it on the internet, or to download it as a PDF and store it in their tablets or in their phones so they can follow along. Other books we'll be utilizing as other different sources in which I'll be also taking advantage of and extracting information out of, so we could also benefit in preparation for Ramadan. For firstly, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, as it starts, as in Kitab al-Siyam. For Kitab al-Siyam, as we know, is the arkan, or from the arkan of our religion, in which Islam is established upon, as it comes in Hadith Jibreel. As we know, Hadith Jibreel, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu had mentioned al-a'mal al-zahira wal-a'mal al-batina. As we know, Islam and Iman, if they're mentioned in the context, then they both separate, meaning that they take their own individual meaning. As we know, the Hadith of Jibreel, when the Messenger of Allah sallallahu when he had answered the questions in which Jibreel had asked him, Mal Islam, that he says, An tashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadur Rasulullah wa tuqim as-salat wa tuti az-zakat wa tasum Ramadan wa tahujj al-bayt. So those are al-a'mal al-zahira. So what was mentioned in Hadith Jibreel is the outward actions. So the Messenger of Allah sallallahu had mentioned from amongst them, from what is Islam, he said, Siyam Ramadan. Then he asked the question which pertained to al-a'mal al-batina, the actions which are done inwardly with the heart. Where he said, Mal Iman. He said, Tu'mina billah wa malaikati wa kutubihi wa rusuli wa yawm al-akhir wa tu'mi bil qadri khayrihi wa sharrihi. He said that you believe in what? Tu'mina billah wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusuli. That you believe in Allah and His books and the angels in the last day and the divine decree, the good of it and the evil of it. That's pertaining to the actions of the heart. So what was mentioned Hadith of Jibreel to gather between what? Al-a'mal al-batina, or al-a'mal al-zahira, wal-a'mal al-batina. طيب, before what we mentioned is said, in regards to Siyam Ramadan, the Messenger of Allah said, that is from al-Islam. We know there's a rukn al-thalith, in which the Messenger of Allah had mentioned in Hadith of Jibreel, the third pillar in which Allah Ta'ala likewise has prescribed upon this ummah. And it was from the da'ab or the adah or the daydan. It was from the ways of those who came before us, of those who are pious, in which Allah Ta'ala had mentioned in His book, as we know, the ayat that we hear every single year. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun, as we know. Now, all you who believe that Siyam has been prescribed upon you, meaning obligatory upon you. Because kutub or kutiba here means that's yajibu or wajaba. That here it means that it's an obligation. Just as it's been written upon or prescribed upon those before you to be amongst those who attain at-taqwa. As we know, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, that Ramadan shall always be looked at as a school. It should never be looked at as a month from abstaining from food and drink. And also one enjoying or being intimate with his spouse. A lot of people take it as is something that of abstaining from food and drink. Rather, Ramadan is a madrasa. That you enter upon a school and you come out of it in a different manner. You'll find that the meaning of taqwa, as the great Imam al-Albani had explained this ayah, when he was explaining the last part of the hadith, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. The great Imam Muhammad al-Suddin al-Albani, when he was mentioning this ayah, he talked about the last part, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. When he said, in order for you to be the pious, when he was explaining this last part of the ayah, which is Surah Al-Baqarah, when he's mentioned and said about this, he said, a lot of people think of pertaining to fasting, what is the most important is that he abstains from food and drink. And he abstains from being intimate with his wife or what have you. He said there's something which is more important, which a lot of people are heedless of in regards to fasting. He says for fasting, abstaining from food and drink is something that majority of the ibad are able to do. He said, however, there's something else in which a lot of people are or they find difficulty in. What is that thing? He said that thing is abstaining from that which Allah Ta'ala made unlawful upon the eyes and the ears and the tongue. He said that also is supposed to be what? fasting, from abstaining, from saying things which are, or which will be an infringement upon your siyam, which will decrease the reward until nothing is left. And also likewise pertaining to listening to something where he should not be listening to, which also likewise will decrease the reward. And looking at affairs that are not permissible for him likewise. As we'll talk about the ahadith and the athar of the salaf in this regard, inshaAllah. Because there are a lot. So a lot of people think that fasting is only pertaining to food and drink. Rather, there's something that is more in depth and more important, what a lot of people are inadvertent of, which is what? Which pertaining to abstain from what is unlawful for him during the time he is fasting. Whereas it will affect it to the point where he will have no reward left of it, except which is pertaining to thirst and hunger, and that's it. For verily, he said to taqwa here, when Allah Ta'ala mentioned this ayah, is comprehensive for all these meanings. Not just abstaining from food and drink, but also likewise in those affairs in which Allah Ta'ala had made unlawful upon the abd, from looking at that which is haram, listening to that which is haram, and speaking that which is haram, in which all these type of details, or all the details will come, inshaAllah, bi'idhnillah jalla wa azza. As we know, likewise, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, as Ramadan, likewise, and fasting was in stages. As fasting was in stages, as it comes in the hadith of Sirma ibn Qais, where we know that some of the affairs in our religion were upon marahil. They were upon stages. From those stages of siyam, that was upon a takhyir, that a person was able to what? He was able to have the choice or alternative. Either he could fast or either he could feed. There was a lot of stages in which we'll discuss, inshallah, of fasting. There was a stage where it was very what we would consider, of course, and the Sahaba during their time had considered it difficult. From them is what happened with Sirma ibn Qais, where we know one of the stages of fasting that a person had to fast only from the Isha, starting from Al-Isha, from Al-Isha, all the way up to when the sun went down the next day. That was one of the stages. Yes. For due to the hadith which we'll discuss, and I'll bring the athar of it, don't worry. That when it came to Maghrib, Salat al-Maghrib, person had two choices. One of them is he broke his fast after Maghrib, and it was time he could eat. He could eat, he could drink, he could be intimate with his wife, as long as he does it before Isha, and likewise, he does not go to sleep. So what happened, one of the Sahaba, it was Sirma ibn Qais, that soon when he came back, because he used to work in the mazari', he used to work in the fields of agriculture. He used to work in the field of agriculture, meaning the gardens pertaining to plants and things of that nature. So what happened to him, when he came in, he asked his wife whether or not she had food or anything to eat. And she said no, but however, I would go out to look for it. So when she went out to look for it, she came back and she found that he was sleeping. And we just said that one of the rules of fasting in that time or that period was that he could not He couldn't sleep. Or else he had to start fasting again. So it says in the narration, فَغَلَبَتَ عَيْنَاهُ, his eyes overtook him until the point where he went to sleep. To the point when his wife came back in the room and she said to him, خَيْبَةً لَكَ. خَيْبَةً لَكَ. She said, you messed yourself, basically to say for lack of better words, you messed yourself up. خَيْبَةً لَكَ. You messed yourself up. What do you mean you messed yourself up? Why did she say that? Because now it's incumbent upon him to start what, everyone? To start fasting again. Because he went to sleep. He went to sleep. So, Sirma ibn Qais, he went back, or he fell asleep, he started his fasting again. Until the point where the following day came. And while he was working in his crops or his field of affairs pertaining to agriculture, he fell asleep. He passed out. He passed out. Radiyallahu anhu. And then the point of that, you'll find in the books, as we know, Asbab al-Nuzul, Asbab Nuzul al-Ayah, you'll find that the ayat was revealed where Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَعَلِمَ اللَّهُ أَنَّكُمْ كُنْتُمْ تَخْتَانُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ فَتَابَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَعَفَى عَنْكُمْ فَالْآنَ بَاشِرُوهُنْ وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ ثُمَّ أَتِمُّوا الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ وَلَا تُبَاشِرُوهُنَّ وَأَنْتُمْ عَاكِفُونَ فِي الْمَسَاجِدِ to the ayah. Allah Ta'ala revealed the ayah about now a person could be intimate during the night when the sun set, all the way up to the time of Fajr. There's another athar of Umar al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. Umar al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, likewise, the narration came like during this stage of fasting, when it was like this. Umar al-Khattab likewise fell into becoming intimate after Isha. So those are the two what? This is to show how the stage of Siyam was, that it was in marahil. It was of different stages. And these were one of them. These were one of the stages. Likewise, there was an athar on Umar al-Khattab similar to that. The Umar al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu have fell in to being intimate with his wife after Isha. After Salat al-Isha. And we said after Salat al-Isha you had to start fasting again. Until she went to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam complaining. And it was some of the other Sahaba likewise fell into something similar to that. They would find a great difficulty upon her. So they said that Umar al-Khattab, when she went to the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said this, and he told her what happened, until likewise these were from the reasons in which the ayah was revealed, and what comes in the ayah. For no worry, inshallah we'll touch on the tafsir of it, which Ibn Kathir mentions in the tafsir, where all these athar are in there. So those are one of the stages in which to show how Allah Ta'ala had mercy upon us, in which He made the affair of Siyam in stages until it became easy. And so it's something that I think everyone will find, if they was to think about it, that's something that's of great difficulty. That one will start his Siyam from Isha all the way up to Maghrib, especially here in America when the days are very long. So that was something that Allah Ta'ala made easy upon the al-ibad, in order to show His mercy in which He's bestowed upon us. Walillahi alhamdu wal minna. So those affairs, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, just to give some enlightenment in regards to what we just mentioned. We said that the obligation of Siyam, that it started in when? After the what? As-sanat al-thaniya min al-hijrah. The second year of the migration of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And we know that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam fasted how many months of Ramadan during his life? It was 9. So the actual obligation started the second year. The obligation of Siyam started as-sanat al-thaniya, after the Hijrah. The second year after the migration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Until the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam during his life had fasted how many? 9 months. 9 months of Ramadan. We call it 9 Ramadanat. Alayhi salatu wasalam. Then he died. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. In regards to now, as we know, as-siyam, lughatan, in regards to what it means linguistically in the English, the linguistic part or the linguistic aspect of the Arabic language, we know siyam just means, as we know, just to abstain, generally. It just means to abstain from something. Doesn't matter whether it's just food and drink. It could be even the speech. That we know siyam can mean to just abstain from something. It could be abstination from speech. It could be abstination from food. It could be abstination from different affairs. But however, we know in regards to al-istilah al-shar'i, in regards to kitab al-sunnah, that we know this abstination from food and drink and intimacy and the rest of the mufattirat of what will break your fast until the sun goes down. But however, linguistically, in the Arabic language, it means just to abstain. It just means to abstain. In which we know that in Surah Maryam, where Allah Ta'ala had talked about Maryam, where she said that she took a vow to Allah not to speak. وَإِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَمَّ فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. Because Maryam bint Imran that she mentioned, in the ayah where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. Verily I took a vow to Ar-Rahman, a sawm, meaning siyam, meaning I will abstain from speech. I will not speak to any person or any individual. So, do we know that Maryam had took a vow not to speak to anyone? And notice that she said sawma or siyam. إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ sawma فَلَنْ أُكَلِّمَ الْيَوْمَ إِنْسِيًّا. That I took a vow to Rahman, sawman, that I will abstain from speech for a period of days. That I will abstain from speech for a period of days. So to let you know, linguistically it was used for something else other than abstaining from food and drink. Rather, linguistically it was used for what, everyone? Abstaining from speech. So in regards to now, as we know, Al-Kitab wa Sunnah, you'll find that the important ta'rif, the important definition for siyam, it's not linguistically, as they say, not lughatan, but istilahan. Where there's an important qaid that even Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned, he says that you should start the definition with a ta'abbud lillah. A ta'abbud lillah. That's the first thing. That first, in regards to siyam, the definition of what you should put is the first part of the definition is a ta'abbud lillah. That you are doing it out of worship of Allah. Out of worship of Allah Ta'ala. A ta'abbud lillah. A ta'abbud lillah, how, everyone? As it says, by abstaining, as we know the rest of the definition, abstaining from food and drink, or what is the meaning of food and drink, which we'll discuss, and the rest of the affairs which breaks your fast. Min tulu' al-fajr ila ghurub al-shams. From when the time comes up for fajr, all the way up to when the sun goes down for the time of al-maghrib. For notice in the ta'rif, for the first part of the definition is a ta'abbud lillah, worship of Allah. So that's the first part of the definition, which is very important. A ta'abbud lillah. So when he embarks upon this type of ibadah, the first thing that he comes to his mind is that he's doing this out of worship of Allah, to draw close to Him. So if one wants to earn the pleasure of his Creator, then he embarks upon this particular action, or this particular what? Act of worship. So the reason why I'm mentioning this, because a lot of people think, and a lot of people forget sometimes, that what you're doing is a tremendous aspect of worship where it's earning the pleasure of your Lord. Where your Lord is pleased with this action. And that you're doing it in order to earn His pleasure, tabaraka wa ta'ala. And you're trying to stay away from the asbab al-ghadab, or asbab niqmatihi, wa ghadabihi, wa sakhatih. That you're starting to abstain from the affairs of which will earn His wrath, or His anger, or His niqmah, of Him snatching a ni'mah from you. All these type of matters, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, you're trying to do the opposite where you earn His pleasure. That's the reason why they put in the ta'rif, a ta'abbud lillah. It's out of worship of Allah. So if one knows that he's doing this, so he should not, why? He's in the aspect, or in the act of doing his worship, he should complain. As we'll talk about the hadith and the Prophet ﷺ of the meaning of the hadith, Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaba, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi. We'll talk about the meaning of the hadith. That whoever fasts Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ihtisab, you'll find that even Al-Tayyibi, that he mentioned in the sharh of this particular hadith, which we'll talk about and discuss, that he said, أن يصومه بالنية والعزيمة طيبة به نفسه غير كاره له غير كاره له ولا مستطيلا لأيامه ولا مستثقل لصيامه ولكن يغتنم طيلة صيامه عظم الثواب. You'll find a Tayyibi that he mentioned about the hadith, about whoever fasts the month of Ramadan out of Iman and Ihtisab. that the meaning of ihtisab, that he says that a person fasts bin-niyya wal-azima. He has the intention and he has the strong resolve to do it. Niyatan wa azima. Now listen to what Tayyibi goes on to say. Well, Imam al-Albani mentioned the sharh of the hadith. He said, طَيِّبَةً بِهِ نَفْسُهُ غَيْرُ كَارِهٍ لَهُ. He says that when he's fasting, he actually feels that he's doing something that is earning the pleasure of Allah, where his self is at ease, where he does not detest it. Where he does not detest it. طَيِّبَةً بِهِ نَفْسُهُ غَيْرُ كَارِهٍ لَهُ. Then it says in the explanation, Tayyibi goes on to say, وَلَا مُسْتَطِيلٍ لِأَيَّامِهِ وَلَا مُسْتَثْقِلٍ لِصِيَامِهِ. Nor while he's fasting, nor does he find the days to be tremendously long. Oh, these days are long. When is those fasts are going to be? Over. Nor does he find the siyam to be heavy and as a burden upon him. So that's the meaning of the hadith, imanan wahtisaban. So he has the niyyah, he has the azima, he also likewise, tayyibatan bihi nafsuhu, which says in it that his self is at ease with the worship, where he doesn't detest it, he starts to complain. However, what he said, وَلَا مُسْتَطِيلًا لِأَيَّامِ, he doesn't deem the days to be long, it's too long, he starts to complain. Nor does he find the fast to be heavy upon him. Rather, he takes advantage of, while he's doing that particular act, the idham al-thawab, the tremendous reward that Allah Ta'ala has what? Prepared for him. So these type of aspects is very important and vital, in which one needs to know before he actually starts the aspect of worship. Ta'abbud lillah. You're doing it out of worship of Allah to earn His pleasure. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. And also likewise how oneself is supposed to be while he's in the act of doing it. Because we know that some of our people are ignorant of the meaning of this hadith, where they start to complain, or they start to say this is too hard, oh the days are too long, subhanallah, when is this going to be over? All these matters are what goes against the hadith, imanan wahtisaban. It goes against that part of the hadith where it says ihtisaban. So that's the part of the meaning of it. You understand, everyone? So in this regard, like we said, siyam, in which, like we talked about the ta'rif, as we said, the meaning of it is firstly ta'abbud lillah, and from one abstaining from food and drink, or what is the meaning of food and drink, which we'll discuss, and the rest of those affairs that break one's fast, starting from tulu' al-fajr, from the time of Fajr all the way up to when, everyone? To the time of Ghurub al-Shams. طيب, as we know that in regards to those matters in which break the fast, in which also if we go back to Umdat al-Ahkam, I forgot, I'll bring the book next time anyway. In regards to now, you go back to even Umdat al-Ahkam and even Arba'in al-Nawiyah. If you look in it, you'll find the tremendous hadith in which we all know about discussing the niyyah, which we'll discuss inshallah, of when a person is supposed to have the niyyah for fasting. Does he have to now start the month and one niyyah suffices all the way up to when it's concluded or over? Or does he renew his niyyah every day or every night? Which I'll discuss inshallah. Does it suffice just for one part of the month, where now that suffices for the whole rest of the month? Or does he have to what? Make, as they call, هل عليه يجدد النية كل ليلة? Does he now have to renew his niyyah every night or not? All that will come inshallah. In regards to what they call mufattirat, as we know, what breaks the fast is of two categories. The first category is what they call mufattirat al-hissiyya. Al-hissiyya. Those matters that will break the fast, which are tangible, in which we eat, and what we consume, what we can smell, or what have you, or we can see with the senses, of course. Something that's tangible. You can touch it, you can feel it, and you can put it in your mouth. So those mufattirat that are al-hissiyya, which are tangible, we know they break the fast, which is clear and evident. For in regards to al-mufattirat al-hissiyya, which are tangible, and which we'll talk about inshallah, pertaining to the needles that give nutrients to the body, which is also considered from those al-mufattirat al-hissiyya. Those mufattirat which breaks the fast, which are tangible. So it's not just food and drink, but we will find that Ahl Ilm discuss when they say the meaning of food and drink, the meaning is the needles which are put in the body, which gives nutrients to it. If one does that, then it breaks the fast, which we'll discuss inshallah. As far as suppositories, or what is put in the private part, or put in the rear end through the person that just put some medicine in the rear end as a suppository, what have you, in which we'll discuss all that in its due time, inshallah. Or whether or not if one puts something in his ears, or in his eyes, or on his skin, or any other part of the body, does it break the fast or not? All that will be discussed in a minute, or in the upcoming lessons, inshallah. So first type of mufattirat, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, is what they call al-mufattirat al-hissiyya. Those matters that break the fast, which are tangible, which is of food and drink, in the meaning of food and drink. Then you have that which breaks the fast, which is called al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyya. Al-ma'nawiyya. That which is intangible, but it's there. What does it mean it's intangible? How can something be intangible, but it's not, but it's there? Meaning your senses can't touch it or feel it, but it is there, and it does cause an effect on your fasting, such as sins. In regards to sins and doing acts which is impermissible or acts which are unlawful. Why do Ahl Ilm bring in this category and call it al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyya? Why do they call it al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyya? Not necessarily because it totally invalidates or nullifies the fast, but however, one could commit acts until the point where nothing is left of the reward. So as if what, everyone? As if he never fasted. رُبَّ صَائِمًا لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعِ وَرُبَّ قَائِمًا لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ قِيَامِهِ إِلَّا السَّهْرِ. As we know the hadith, which we'll talk about inshallah. He says, how many people that have what? Fasted, and they had nothing left of their fast, it's just mere hunger and thirst, and that's it. رُبَّ قَصَائِمًا لَيْسَ لَهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ إِلَّا الْجُوعِ وَالْعَطَشِ. No. So a person that now he fasts, how many people have fasted and he has nothing of his fast except just mere hunger and thirst? And how many people have stood in the night and they had nothing of them standing except what? Just mere exhaustion from them standing. Meaning they didn't have ihtisab, which we'll talk about, we'll just discuss. But at any rate, you'll find, ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, the second category of, for example, ghiba, namima, or backbiting, or looking at something haram, or hearing something that's impermissible, can decrease the reward of your fast until to the point as if you did not fast. But it does not break it. So if one now was to look or see something haram in the street, or see something or hear something haram, this does not mean that you have broke your fast. Until it comes in the athar of Imam Ahmad. When Imam Ahmad said in the athar, that he said, Imam Ahmad, Imam Ahl Sunnah, Imam Ahmad Abu Abdullah, Ahmad ibn Hanbal Shibani, what he mentioned, he said, he asked, does ghiba break your fast? Does backbiting or these affairs break the fast? Or what they call speech that's kind of like loose speech or what have you. He said, وَلَوْ كَانَ الْأَمْرُ كَذَلِكَ مَا بَقِيَ لَنَا صِيَامٍ. Imam Ahmad said, if these affairs broke our fast, he said, none of us will what? Will have any fast left. If this was to break the fast. So that's the, inshallah, that's the answer to a question of what Ibrahim just asked me a couple of minutes ago, which shows that if one was to fall into these affairs, does it invalidate the fast? We say, No, one continues to fast, but however, what? Be cautious, because you can decrease the reward of your fasting till the point where it's what? It's as if you did not fast. So it's clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? So you have those type of affairs, like we said, in which all of this we'll discuss in its time, inshaAllah, bi'idhnillah jalla wa azz. طيب. So now we have the first type of category, which is al-mufattirat. The first category is al-mufattirat al-hissiyah. And you have al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyyah. Al-ma'nawiyyah. Those matters which are, like we said, it's there, but you cannot see it. You can't see the effects of sins, but sins is there. And it does affect your fasting, it affects your reward, and it affects whether or not Allah accepted it or not. You understand, everyone? For all those affairs play a vital and a tremendous role and an impact on one's siyam. So it can affect one's fasting, it can affect his reward, and it can affect, likewise, whether or not Allah Ta'ala accepts the siyam. Because ultimately, that is what is the most, ultimately, that is the most what? Important. That Allah Ta'ala accepts it from the abd. As we know, the ayah what happened with Habayl al-Qabayl, what it says, إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلَ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ. That Allah Ta'ala had said what happened to the two sons of Adam. وَاتْلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ بَنِي آدَمَ إِذْ قَرَّبَ قُرْبَانًا إِذْ تُقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يَتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ قَالَ إِنَّمَا يَتَقَبَّلُ اللَّهُ مِنَ الْمُتَّقِينَ لئن بسطت إلي يدك لتقتلني ما أنا بباسط يدي إليك لأقتلك إني أخاف الله رب العالمين. As the ayah what happened in Surah Al-Ma'idah between the two sons of Adam, where it says Allah Ta'ala had mentioned the story what happened to them, where he says وَاتْلُوا عَلَيْهِمْ نَبَأَ بَنِي آدَمَ إِذْ قَرَّبَ قُرْبَانًا فَتُقُبِّلَ مِنْ أَحَدِهِمَا وَلَمْ يُتَقَبَّلْ مِنَ الْآخَرِ قَالَ لَأَقْتُلَنَّكَ قال إنما يتقبل الله من المتقين. That the story of what happened with Adam, or the two sons of Adam, where Ibn Kathir mentioned the tafsir of it, where he says, recite to them the story of what happened to the two sons of Adam. Until he says about what happened with them, he says that they put forth a sacrifice. One it was accepted from, and the other it wasn't. And to the point where the jealousy and the envy affected, till he said, I will definitely kill you. Due to the fact that Allah Ta'ala accepted from his brother that sacrifice or that offer. So what happened was, Ya Ma'ish al-Ikhwa, one should fear Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala all throughout the year, because Allah Ta'ala only accepts from those who are muttaqeen. So it's not the fact that one fears Allah in Ramadan, but the most important thing is what? That Allah Ta'ala accepts it from the abd, and He only accepts it from those who have taqwa, meaning at all times. So it's not just something that's temporarily at one specific time, but rather all throughout the year, in which it will be a means for Allah Ta'ala to accept it from the individual. So that's very important, in which a lot of people either forget or, like we said, they're ignorant of. So one tell Allah Ta'ala, if he wants to fast, which is al-siyam al-matlub, then like we said, one likewise fears him subhanahu wa ta'ala all throughout the year, in which it will be a reason for him, inshaAllah, that his actions will be accepted by him subhanahu wa ta'ala. طيب, in regards to what we mentioned and said about ta'am, notice if we go back to the ta'rif, the definition, what do you notice? It says that one abstains from a ta'am, and he also, if you look in the definition in your books, he abstains from food and drink. And also likewise those mufattirat al-hissiyah and those mufattirat al-ma'nawiyah. Al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyah, which are intangible. What is those mufattirat al-ma'nawiyah? Give me an example of it, Dawood. What's an example of mufattirat al-ma'nawiyah? What did you understand? What is al-ma'nawiyah? Tariq, give me an example of al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyah. Kareem, give me an example of al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyya. Just one example. Ibrahim, give me an example of al-mufattirat al-ma'nawiyya. Sins. What kind of sin? Abdurrahim. What kind of sin, Musa? Backbiting. Huh? تفضل. The shaheed. Slander. All types of sins. Slander. Looking at what's impermissible. Looking at women. Looking at things that you're not supposed to look at. Listening to music. Cursing. Using obscene speech. Using vulgar speech. Losing your character. Using or coming out of your character. Complaining about your fasting. And the list goes on and on and on and on and on. Is it clear, Tariq? So give me an example. Just give me one. An example. المفطرات المعنوية. Say it again. جيد. What happened? It's time already? Wow. Okay. Let me stop for the adhan, inshallah. شلون لا قوة إلا بالله الله أكبر الله أكبر الصلاة القائمة آتي محمد الصيد الفضيل وبعث مقام محمود طيب forgot آتي محمد الصيد الفضيل وبعث مقام محمود طيب, in regards to now, if you look at the last part of the ta'rif, the definition where we know siyam, that it starts in tulu' al-fajr. Tulu' al-fajr, where we know, in regards to a lot of the Muslim countries, is tulu' al-fajr al-thani. As you'll find, there's two adhans that they perform or what they make in a lot of the countries. You'll find there's an early adhan and there's a what? There's a later adhan after that one. So you'll find that from Ahl Ilm, if you look in your definition, they say that it starts with the second what? The second Fajr. Not the what? Not the first. Due to the fact that they have what they call Al-Fajr. The first Fajr is They say the Fajr which is, for the lack of better words, the fake Fajr. What do they mean by that? Well, they say the Fajr that is not the actual time for Fajr, but however it's to wake one up in order to either to pray or to start his preparation to start his fasting. But it's not necessarily the actual time yet where one starts to fast. So it's from Tulu' al-Fajr, not al-awwal, laysa al-awwal, not the first Fajr. But however it is what? The second Fajr. As we'll discuss the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, where the Prophet ﷺ had talked about during the adhan, during his time of, it was Bilal ibn Ummi Maktoum. You'll find that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ had actually mentioned and said to the people that he said, do not start your fast during the hearing the adhan of Bilal, due to the fact that Bilal used to call the adhan prior before the time came in order for the people to wake up and prepare themselves for fasting. He says, however, he says, start your fasting when you hear the adhan of Ibn Ummi Maktoum. When you hear the adhan of Ibn Ummi Maktoum, meaning for the second Fajr. But that's not here. As we know, here in the non-Muslim country, we do not do that. But if you was in a Muslim country, you'll find that they have two adhans. The adhan that came maybe 45 minutes before the actual correct or true adhan came in. Where you find that they call it al-Fajr al-Sadiq, what they call it the true Fajr. The actual what? True Fajr. When he meaning that a person, you will find that if he was to look to the sky in regards to the adhan of what they call al-Fajr al-Kadib, or they actually say the actual fake Fajr, you'll find if you look into the sky, there's actually, the light actually starts to come, like that the actual light starts to actually what? Come out. Right, everyone? The light will come out, and then it won't keep going until it starts to now go to the horizon where it starts to spread, where the light comes out. You will actually find that the light will come, it will start to sprout out, but then it will go back to being black again. So that's how they would call it the Fajr of what? Al-Kadib. The Fajr that's not what? It's not true. So it's like a line that it says, يَعْتَرِدُ فِي الْأُفُقِ. That it actually comes, yeah, it'll just bother me, it's bothering me too. That it comes in what? It's a line that goes inside the horizon. But the light comes out, but then it goes back to being black again. So that you'll find that they, based upon that, they called it Al-Fajr al-Kadib. The Fajr that's not true. Because the light did not keep sprouting out until it became the daytime. It didn't start officially yet. However, it became black again. So based upon that time, or that time frame, you'll find that during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they had two adhans. One was a time prior before the actual Fajr came in, so the people either could get up to pray, or to pray in the night prayer, or to prepare for their fast. So they will wake up at that particular time in order for preparation, like we said, for these affairs. But in regards to what you'll find, the ta'rif, if you go in your definition, look in your book, they say to start, the fasting, does it start from the first adhan or the second? It actually starts from the what? From the second adhan. Al-Fajr al-Thani, al-Sadiq, the true adhan, which is for Fajr. With the actual what? The actual time, but the line where the light comes out and it keeps sprouting out until the daytime appears. And even the great Imam that he mentioned, this is the same exact thing which we're mentioning here. He says, وَأَمَا الْفَجْرِ الثَّانِي فَهُوَ الْبَيَاضُ الْمُعْتَرِضُ فِي الْأُفُقِ وَلَا يَأْتِ بَعْدَهُ ظَلَامٌ وإنما ينتشر البياض المعترض في الأفق. Due to the ayah, this is بناء على قول الله تبارك وتعالى وكلوا واشربوا حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض يتنان الآية. He says وهذا هو الفجر الثاني إلى غروب الشمس إذا غربت الشمس وأقبل الليل من المشرق انتهى الصيام. To the end of it. He says as for, he talks about the first one. He says al-Fajr al-Awwal, he says a person doesn't start his fasting by the first one, the first Fajr. He says, nor eating or drinking by that it makes eating and drinking unlawful. And nor is it obligatory that you pray Salat al-Fajr upon hearing it, or seeing it, meaning the adhan, but here's talking about Fajr. He says, for verily it's a whiteness. He said it appears in the horizon. He said it's kind of rectangular. It's like a rectangular shape. He said, then what comes after it, darkness again. He said, ثُمَّ يَأْتِي بَعْدُ الظَّلَامِ. He said, darkness comes back after what? It starts to come out, then blackness comes back again. He said, this is the first Fajr. That's why you said you'll find, you'd call it Al-Fajr Al-Kadhub. The Fajr that's not true. The Fajr that's not what? That's not true. He said, then you have Al-Fajr Al-Thani, the second Fajr. He said, where the lightness comes out. He says, Al-Bayad Al-Mu'tarad fil Ufuq. He said the light or that whiteness, he said that goes across the horizon. But however, when it goes across the horizon, there's no blackness that comes out, or it doesn't return back to being black again after that. He says, however, you see the whiteness that starts to sprout out and go across the horizon until the actual daytime starts. He said, this is Al-Fajr Al-Thani. Now, a person starts his fasting during the what? What, everyone? Which Fajr, Dawood? First or second? Second. J. The Fajr Al-Thani. For the second Fajr. Due to the fact that now the day has truly began. To when the sun now goes down at the time of which our brother just made the adhan. That will be the time for what? For breaking it. So now when the time where the actual night approaches, it approaches from the mashriq, that it approaches from the east. Then after that, like we said, the siyam is what? It's over. That's the due to the ayah, as we know. Allah Ta'ala says in Al-Baqarah, ثُمَّ أَتَمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. He says, once now Fajrs come up, fast all during that day until you complete your fast to when the night begins. ثُمَّ أَتَمُّ الصِّيَامَ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. Also during the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, and all these narrations we're going to cover, inshallah. إِذَا أَقْبَلَ اللَّيْلِ مِنْ هَا هُنَا وَأَدْبَرَ النَّهَارُ مِنْ هَا هُنَا وَغَرَبَتِ الشَّمْسِ فَقَدْ أَفْطَرَ الصَّائِمِ. When the Prophet ﷺ said the night has approached from here, and the night and the day turned away from there, he says, and the sun has now set, then the sa'im, or the person who's fasting, breaks his fast. So now we know of what in regards to siyam, based upon the definitions that we had just what? Wrote down. So you'll find that Ahl Ilm, if you want to write in your book another qayd, another restriction, and write in it, min tulu'il fajri al-thani, the second Fajr, not the first. Tulu'il Fajr al-Thani, the second Fajr, which is called Al-Fajr al-Sadiq, or what they call al-Saduq, or the true Fajr. The true Fajr, which is the second one. Not the first, but like we said here, we don't have that. But if you're in a Muslim country, this would be the situation. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear what I'm saying? I forgot your name again. I forgot your name. Joshua. G. Yusha? Is it Yesh or is it Yusha? It's Yusha. I think Joshua is Yusha, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'm going to check it. I think Joshua is Yusha. But anyway, as far as I know, I think it's Yusha. Yusha. What I ain't, Yusha. Saying you, that's a bad way to say you shot. Let's just drop the T. You shot. طيب. What is the hikmah now in the mashru'iyyat al-siyam? What is the wisdom? I think the wisdom is what? The wisdom is ahsant. The wisdom is, it's clear. Oh, one fast. I don't know it's starting to affect me now. I think the wisdom in this affair is clear. As we talked about Siyam, or the madrasa of Siyam, keep in mind that the month of Ramadan is a madrasa. It's not just a month where we just abstain from food and drink. It's in, it's out. Alhamdulillah, we move on by our lives for the rest of the year. Siyam of Ramadan is a madrasa. It's a school where one embarks upon and he goes into it. And if he totally benefits from it, he comes out a different person. He comes out a better person. And it's not just acclimating himself to abstaining from food and drink. However, it's acclimating himself from obeying Allah totally. From, like we said, in which we'll discuss the athar of Ali ibn Abi Talib and Jabir ibn Abdullah. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. As all those athar are going to come. From those athars, Ali ibn Abi Talib even mentioned, and Jabir ibn Abdullah, he said, لَيْسُ الصِّيَامُ مِنَ الْأَكْلِ وَالشُّرْبِ وَلَكِنْ مِنَ الْكَذِبِ وَالْبَاطِلِ وَاللَّغْوِ. It's an athar that I mentioned. That Ali ibn Abi Talib mentioned and said, the siyam is not just from food and drink only. He says, وَلَكِنْ مِنَ الْكَذِبِ وَالْبَاطِلِ وَاللَّغْوِ. However, true siyam, meaning with the test, truly appears or what manifests, is abstaining from kadhib, lying, and indulging in false matters, meaning that which is haram or that which is impermissible, and lagh, meaning like loose, vulgar speech, and evil speech, and vile speech, and speech you should not be indulging in. He said that's the true test that a lot of people cannot endure, and a lot of people cannot withstand that affair. Right, everyone? That's the true test. To abstain from rude behavior, and to abstain from vile behavior or a behavior that's inappropriate for a Muslim to what? Indulge in, whatsoever. So, in regards to what we mentioned and said, these affairs, like we said, as far as not only food and drink, that we know food and drink is a push or an incentive for one to fall inside of being aggressive or conducting in an inappropriate manner. You'll find that the great Imam even mentioned this, the Sheikh Salih Fawzan, Atallah fi umrihi, بالأعمال الصالحة. We mentioned this regard. He says, لأنه يمنع النفس من الشهوات والأكل والشرب والجماع. He said, لأن هذه الأمور تحمل النفوس على الطغيان وعلى الغفلة. إذا انتهك الإنسان في الأكل والشرب وتناول الشهوات حمله ذلك على الأشر والبطر والطغيان والغفلة عن ذكر الله عز وجل. أما إذا صام فإنه تنكسر فيه حدة الشهوة والتطلع إلى المآكل والمشارب وتضيق فيه مجاري الشيطان، لأن الشيطان يجري من ابن آدم مجرى الدم، فالصيام يضيق مجاري الشيطان ويضيق مجاري الشيطان من الإنسان ويضعف شهوته ويكسر حدته فيلين قلبه وفيلين قلبه. ولذلك قال لعلكم تتقون في الصيام يكسب التقوى والانكسار بين يديه الله تبارك وتعالى. He says, because you'll find that, like we said, in regards to abstaining from food and drink, or abstaining generally from all these matters, and abstaining from your desires, and abstaining from food and drink and intimacy, he said usually these matters, it will be an incentive and it will push one towards or falling inside of aggression and transgression and heedlessness. For verily, if a person, he goes deep and engrosses himself in eating and drinking, and always likewise constantly being exposed to what will satisfy his desires, he says it will push him to that which is the most evilest of matters. And also to push him upon him being having that ingratitude and ungratefulness and transgression and heedlessness from the members of Allah. However, if one was to fast, he says it will cut down the intensity of desires. It will remove and cut the intensity of desires and seeking that what? That food and drink, in which the canals or the circulative parts of where the shaitan moves will be now restricted. It will be what? It will now be what? Become tight, where he cannot move around. Because shaitan, as we know, moves to Ibn Adam just as blood flows. I thought he was reasoning there. For siyam, like we know, that it now constricts and it tightens the passageways with shaitan that he moves. So shaitan, as we know, moves to Ibn Adam just as blood flows, and now that fasting will what? Constrict it, make it tight. And it will also likewise, it will cut the intensity of desires, and it will make his heart more what? Soft. So that is the meaning of what we said, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Because the one will acquire taqwa, and it will break him down in front of his Lord subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it will also likewise remind the person of his need or the need that he has for Allah. And it remind him of those who are restricted of these different types of blessings. Alhamdulillah. Like everybody now is getting an allergy attack, huh? Ibrahim, can you run and give me a towel? Yeah, Abby. It just came out of nowhere. I was good the whole day. ممتاز. Also, likewise, like we said, Siyam will remind the people of what? It will render a person weak, which it will increase his need for him, subhanahu wa ta'ala. And remind him of the favors that Allah has bestowed upon him of food and drink. And how some of the other people are deprived of these particular blessings. And it will also likewise remind him of the ahwal of those who are in need, from the impoverished and the indigent, of those who lack these blessings that all of us enjoy every day. In which a lot of people, like we said, are deprived of these type of blessings. So in Siyam is a lot of different hikam. It's a lot of different wisdoms. However, one important point in which some people lose is number one, we always focus on purifying our testimony, La ilaha illallah. And we know that the most hardest of affairs is trying to keep that testimony purified. Because all of us make dua to Allah that Allah allows us to die, and we purified our shahada. Purified that testimony. And the only way that one can purify it is only by the help of Allah. And Allah Ta'ala give him tawfiq to set out to purify that shahada. And in the ways that you purify it is by actualizing all the arkan of the testimony. Number one is the shahada pertaining to aqeedah and learning the tawheed of Allah and abstaining from anything that taints it, whether it be from the affairs of kufr or be from the affairs that are innovative practices or innovative ideologies. Those are things will taint your shahada, and if one is not careful, it can render it null and void. And also likewise, part of purifying your shahada is carrying out this affair of the ibadah of Siyam Ramadan. So one, like we said, purifying one's testimony with Allah is the most difficult of affairs. Meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sound heart is very difficult. For one can only ask his Lord constantly to aid him upon meeting him with a sound heart, because the meaning of the ayah, as we'll discuss inshallah, what we discussed before, that Shaykh al-Islam Taymiyyah mentioned, said that the meaning of the ayah is, he says, يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. That the day where one's wealth and his children or his wealth won't avail him or benefit him, except the one who comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sound heart. And he said that the first meaning of sound heart is, he says, the heart that is purified from all deviant methodologies and beliefs. All types of i'tiqad fasida, corrupt beliefs, corrupt ideologies, corrupt ways of thinking. He said that is one of the meanings of meeting Allah with a sound heart. Freeing the heart from what? From all the different wicked aspects of beliefs, whether it be Marxism, whether it be communism, whether it be democracy, whether it be believing that Allah is everywhere, or whether believing Allah does not have hands, rather it means His two powers. All these things will affect your heart and you meeting Allah with a sound heart. All these beliefs, Buddhism, you name it, socialism, which now a lot of the du'at are engaging in, from especially one who teaches a Meshach Ibrahim, social type of what? They call it now socialism, or what they call, not socialism, they call it, I think they call it socialism. It's a type of now of engaging a type of, now we have to build institutions, and now raise the race where we need now different types of we need to indulge inside of getting affairs of social, gathering the people in different rooms and discussing of how we can now get power back to the black person, which is now a type of ideology which is pertaining to what they call some type of socialism, which we'll talk about inshallah. But freeing the heart from all these types of ideologies is what's incumbent upon the abd to make sure that he guards and protects his heart from. For that is meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sound heart. And also likewise, carrying out the wajibat, the prayers that are obligatory. For that is also part of meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with a sound heart, where he carries out the affairs of the ibadah. So those affairs, like we said, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is important, in which we're preparing for. One of the most best ways, if not the best way, of purifying your heart and keeping it pure when you meet Allah ta'ala is the ilm al-nafi', is attaining beneficial knowledge. Beneficial knowledge is the key to you now opening the door to keeping your heart pure. Other than that, there's no way you can meet Allah Ta'ala with a sound heart except by attaining beneficial knowledge. There's no way. And there's no way you'll be able to attain yaqeen, surety in the religion, except by ilm al-nafi'. There's no way. Jahl and ignorance is just going to keep you in a state where you're going to just be worshiping Allah upon ignorance, which is highly dispraised. So inshallah, bi'idhnillah, we'll stop here, inshallah. And if not, maybe we could probably continue maybe a couple of lessons, maybe next week, inshallah, in this regards. Because like I said, after Maghrib, we still have a little bit of time. But we'll stop here and suffice for today. Don't forget, everyone, next week, don't forget to bring Umdat al-Ahkam by Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi. Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi. And bring Bulugh al-Maram, Kitab al-Siyam. Bring those 2 books. That should suffice for next week. If one doesn't have the book, download the PDF if you can on his tablet or on his phone and follow along. So don't forget your books. It's very important, inshallah, ya ikhwah. Don't forget your books. It's very important. Any questions about the lesson? Are you raised your hand? Oh, I thought you raised your hand. Any questions about the tafadhal? No, you good. ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ. As the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said, he says to mention your brother in a manner which he dislikes. It's backbiting. ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يَكْرَهُ. Mentioning your brother in a manner which he dislikes is backbiting. Jayyid? Anything else? The chapter of fasting. The chapter of fasting. Bring 2 books. Umdat al-Ahkam. Umdat al-Ahkam. Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi. They're available online. Both of them. Usually I use Waqfiyah. There's a lot of different websites. You have Waqfiyah. You have Ajurri. I'll show you. I got you. It's a lot of different websites you could download the PDF from. A lot of different ones. All you do is download. I don't know if it's some people. You even might find a translation in there somewhere. I'll look for it on your phone. Just show it to me after Salah. Anything else, anyone? Oh, Zakaria, al-Saghir. He raised his hand, then he ran. Play. هذا وصلى الله وسلم بارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم سبحانك اللهم بحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
Then I say, well, they